Welcome to Hannah's Heart.
So Hannah, she's just one of the women who did struggle with infertility in the Bible.
No matter who we are, we can be inspired by the fact that Hannah took her pain to God, and God heard her and was with her.
So when she was praying at the temple, she had been weeping and not eating, and her lips were moving, but her eyes were closed, and the priest was like, "Hey, why are you drunk at the temple?"
It can become an obsession when you want
wanting
a child so deeply.
and desiring that baby and to be a mama. Every holiday, every Mother's Day.
This is not a show that's going to promise you a certain outcome, but this is a show that says, however God answers your cry, we know that He's enough. Hey, I'm Kendra.
And I'm Ann, and thank you so much for listening to Hannah's Heart on American Family Radio. If you're new here, we are a radio show podcast that focuses a lot on infertility, miscarriage, adoption, foster care, but so many other things along the way. So we are glad that you're here today. And if you're already part of our community, thanks for showing up again. And we love you and appreciate you for being here today.
That's right. And today we have a special in-guest studio with us, Jasmine Sorrell. We are so happy to have you here. She drove all the way. She works with my husband over an hour away and has 3 babies at home right now. So what an honor it is to have you joining us and a sacrifice for you to be here. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. And to our audience, buckle up because her story is one of those where you're like, what? God, how could...
Yes.
What the statistics of how could you? It's one of those stories, and it also deals with embryo adoption or snowflake adoption, and we've talked about that on the show. It's close to my heart. My husband and I looked at that as an option, ended up going a different path, but it was just something so unique and special, and you did it.
Yeah.
You went that route. Spoiler alert, she went that direction.
I did.
But we're gonna start from the very beginning. So let's back up to your love story. Tell us about your husband and how you guys found each other.
Yeah. So we met. He's from Tennessee. I'm here from Mississippi. We met in a teeny tiny college in Searcy, Arkansas called Harding. It's funny. We met move-in weekend our freshman year.
Oh, wow.
And started dating shortly after. People literally thought we came in dating. We're like, nope, we had no idea who each other were. So, we dated our entire college experience, and he proposed fall of our senior year, and then we got married the summer after we graduated.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
When you know, you know, huh?
Yeah, when you know, you know.
Which
Yeah.
y'all did, that's still 4 years. Like, it wasn't like it was super quick, but that's fun.
Yeah.
And speaking of knowing, before you got married, you all knew that biological children were probably not the path for you. Is that right?
Yeah, I really feel like God was super gracious because so many families and so many couples don't know for so many years that biological children aren't in the cards for them. And we actually found out when we were engaged, so it was spring of our senior year of undergrad, and that we couldn't have biological children. And it was hard finding that out, but I think also, and we grieved that, but also always felt the blessing that we were so young. I mean, we got married at 21 and 22.
Wow.
These
so
babies.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. And so, but the fact that we knew going in, hey, traditional children aren't going to be in our cards, so we can have an open hand and open heart to what the other options that the Lord has in store for
Yeah.
us.
Well, and a lot of couples, when they do get married, they feel like, is this going to be a burden to my spouse? Is it what they really want? And what was that like making decisions before you got married, knowing that was the
Yeah,
decision?
I think once again, I think it was a blessing, right? We did a lot of premarital counseling. It was advised. I would advise it to anybody
Yeah.
to work through some stuff.
Yep.
And we're able to talk through some of those things there and just make, I guess, big decisions that, like you said, most people don't make until marriage. And so felt really blessed in that way that we could navigate those things.
When we were talking on the phone the other day, she used the term, it's our infertility. And I love that. You talked about like there's, one medical reason that you guys can't have children. But if it's if husband or wife doesn't matter, you viewed it as this is ours and we're completely together. Like that is so powerful and so important.
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, we were engaged and we truly felt like the Lord had brought us together. And so we were like, okay, this is now our story. And how do we navigate this story?
So going in, you thought adoption would be the way that God would move you all? What was the plan? Or you didn't even want kids?
Either adoption or foster care. So one of the blessings too is, we were 21, 22, young, not making a ton of money, but we were able to say, okay, if adoption is our route, we know it's not cheap.
Yeah.
And so we're able to start making smart financial decisions to get us there if that's where the Lord had us. So we came to Starkville, and I was working on my PhD, and so we were there for 4 years. And during that, called a couple adoption agencies, even started asking friends that we knew that had adopted. Same thing, kind of going, okay, well, like maybe we fostered to adopt, and like looked at the foster care system. But so many times we opened that door and it was closed. And I think we thought, oh, well, we're only here for 4 years for school. We knew we had to leave out of state for my internship and my residency and my postdoc, excuse me. And so it was like, okay, then it's just not now.
So fostering was doors closed as well. Usually that's the one that's like you expect going in like, oh, this will just happen. Because
Right.
there's so many kids that need families.
Right.
But not always the case.
Exactly. And not knowing how long it takes to close. Like we had a very strict timeline of like, we know we're only here in Mississippi for 4 years before we have to move out of state.
Gotcha.
And so when starting to look at that,
It's complicated.
right,
Gotcha.
and not knowing how long that would take, and
Right,
if if the children could be ours before the end, and like we couldn't get locked down,
Yeah.
or I couldn't finish my degree.
Yeah.
And so I think we just always said, okay, it's going to happen later.
Okay.
Like the Lord will open that door later, and just like continue to pray, continue to financially plan, but also just continue to trust that like. And it was hard, right?
How many years into marriage are you saying this now?
So we got married the summer before I started my PhD program, and so those 4 years,
Okay.
kind of like our first 4 years of marriage, that's where we were.
Gotcha.
It's funny how at the beginning, if you have a timeline in your mind and you're like, I'm good, I'm waiting. And then once you hit that, I thought we'd be starting to have kids by now. Sometimes the urgency starts to come a little more. And
Yes.
you're like, okay, wow, all of a sudden I feel differently about it.
Yeah.
Did you have a moment like that?
Yeah, that definitely came. So we match. So my PhD's in psychology, and we have to match like med students match. So we literally did not know what state we would end up in. And so the Lord took us to Maryland.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Long way away.
long way away. Here, two Southerners. We're like, Lord, what are you really doing? Like, you're taking us up north. Like, you've lost your mind. And so I think it was after that move that we really started to feel the pressure, right? Because like at that time, I wasn't in any more classes. Like I was working a 40-hour week, even though I was still finishing up my training and my postdoc. And we did, and we also saw that there was a possibility that we could stay there long term. The Lord was super gracious, gave us a wonderful church home. We were walking distance from it,
Wow.
which was super cool.
Wow. So you had the community.
Yes, we had, and so we were like, okay, and the Lord had called us to purchase a home in Maryland. Also, that's a whole nother story, crazy story for another day, knowing that we could potentially only be there for 2 years. And so we were like, okay, so we've got a home, like I've got a potential long-term position. And so that's when we really started looking again, going, okay, knowing foster laws and that you have to be planted, we're like, okay, if we wanted to start the foster to adopt, we could be here for a while. And then there was also a great Christian adoption agency that was like 45 minutes from where we were.
Seems like everything's lined up.
Exactly. And, and so we met with the adoption team there. We were meeting with friends and church members that were doing the foster care to adopt system in Maryland. And once again, the doors closed. So the adoption agency in Maryland had so many interested families and not enough children that they had stopped taking families.
Wow.
Man,
Okay.
that is like not heard of here.
No, exactly. Yeah, just a totally different world.
Man.
And then Maryland specifically, I know all states do, but really pushes reunification with families, more so the foster care system than some other states. And so once again, we were like, the vast majority of foster care children do end up with a biological relative.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, that's another door slammed. And, but that was really when we were like, we're getting older. We've been married, 5-6 years now. And okay, God, what are you doing? And I think that was really kind of a turning point, is like, we were like, what do we do? And then overnight, the Lord called us back here to Mississippi.
Wow. Okay.
Which is crazy. Yeah. We had been praying. I had a job opportunity back here. I had a job opportunity, though, to stay. We really thought we were going to stay, and then just the Lord moved in wild ways and called us back here. And so we were like, okay, well, then I guess we're going to figure it back out when we get to Mississippi. That's where we were. And we were like, okay, like, we know the foster care system, and had kind of, we're like, maybe that's what we're going to do. And so started packing up, found a home, getting ready to come back here.
Okay, so what happened next?
Yeah.
And then.
And then, yeah, literally, we were at church one Sunday night, and there was a military family that had moved in to the area, had started attending just about a month or two before. The mom was expecting. They had several kids, and we didn't think anything of it. And they get on stage and they start sharing their story. And they had come from a placement in the South and had done embryo adoption. So all of their children, up until the one that she was carrying, were biological. And then had done snowflake adoption for the one that she was carrying.
Wow.
And started to share that story. And I will tell you, I always have something to say.
Yeah.
I'm a talker. I feel like my mom has always said I can talk to a brick wall. And I remember leaving that night because I just felt the Holy Spirit go like, this is it. I remember getting in the car because we drove, even though we were walking distance. It was probably cold at that point.
So this is in Maryland.
This is in Maryland,
Okay.
in our church in Maryland. And I looked at my husband and I said, I don't want to talk about it. I've got to process this one. But I think we have an answer.
Oh, wow.
And at the time, we were 3 weeks from moving. So half of our house was packed up. We were getting ready to make that cross-country trek back down south. And so I think that was something too, is we were trying to figure out how to move. And then now adding, this, I was like, let's hold off. Let's get moved.
Give me just a second.
Give us just a
Catch
second.
my breath.
Yeah. But we then kind of spent the next several weeks amongst the move. And even once we moved, really doing our research about snowflake adoption. And
Had you heard of it?
No.
Before they spoke. So you're like, this is a thing.
Right.
That's a lot of people.
Oh,
They
yeah.
might be
That's-
hearing
we've
about it
had
right now.
so many people that call in or email us, and they're like, "I've never heard about it until this show." Like, why?
So let's answer that
Why?
question. Yeah. What is it? The person that's like, I still don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And some of the research that I've done is it's just not, when you talk about a lot of the fertility clinics, it's not their go-to. Because there's so much more money to be made.
Yeah.
And in
Get
other
on that
ways-
soapbox.
Yes,
Jasmine.
I will. There's just so much more money that can be made in other avenues that most of the time it is an absolute last resort that fertility clinics mention.
But such a needed thing. We did an
Oh,
episode
yeah.
a few weeks ago. I guess it was a few months ago now. But at that time when we did that recording, in America, we had over 1 million embryos frozen. 1 million embryos
With
just
no
in
plan
America.
for
with
them
no
coming back. They're
plan.
just stuck in storage.
Yes.
Right.
And so we've had a lady on here. She actually did the first embryo adoption, and her daughter, who's now I think 26, but at the time that she adopted her as an embryo, she was frozen. I think it was 26 years or 23 years, something like that.
Yeah.
But it sounds absurd, but it's not. It's actually a thing, and yeah, that's in my view saving lives too.
100%.
You just saved 3 babies, And let's not skip forward.
And just to be clear, they're not biologically related to you.
No.
But they are adopted and implanted
Yes.
into a woman. And then you get to have that experience of
Carrying them.
carrying it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Which
Your
is-
body gets to go through everything, even
Yes.
more, I guess. But
Yeah.
everything that a natural, cycle, however we want to call that.
Yeah. A natural pregnancy and,
Yeah.
and birth. Absolutely.
What did your husband think about it? Was he like, you crazy?
A little bit. But it's funny. He's very analytical. And when we started even talking about some of the practicality of this, of what it looks like, the finances behind it, the timeline behind it, I think he was like, this just also makes sense. He was feeling the call from the Lord, absolutely.
Yeah.
But in his analytical brain, he was also but also
Yeah.
this just makes sense.
Yeah. And it's significantly cheaper than traditional adopting a baby. Just
Okay,
yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I mean, if I don't mind sharing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So just so you know, in every state's a little different. But we went through a team, and actually it's funny, when we were in Maryland, the family also used a team out of Knoxville. So that was another pool of embryo adoption for us. We were like, oh, Knoxville's driving distance
do
from,
that.
from
Yeah.
Mississippi. Yeah, we can do that. But so in most states, embryos are seen as property. And so it would be like signing off when you buy a house or land. And so
Which is just crazy.
it is crazy. It's completely crazy. But it makes it significantly cheaper because you don't have all the legal fees behind it. And there's so many pieces about embryo adoption that Matthew's my husband, but Matthew and I talk about that should not be a thing, but we are blessed and grateful that it was, right?
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
living in that juxtaposition, and that's one of it. It's like like financially, just out of curiosity, we kept tabs on like what it cost us from start to finish.
Wow.
And between our home study, the adoption fees, all of those things, we sat right at about $10,000.
Okay.
Oh wow. So yeah, much cheaper.
You're looking
much
at
cheaper.
30,000.
Yeah,
At
I was gonna
least.
say we have a friend right now adopting domestic adoption. It's $40,000.
So yeah, so it is.
Now that being said, it doesn't necessarily mean that your first transfer will be. Everybody's
Right.
costs are going to be different. You might not have
Yes.
success on the first try.
Exactly, and there are like there are a lot of decisions, and we can talk about this as we move on. But you can choose between a lot of places like closed adoption and open adoption, and so there is more fees that go along with the open adoption because you are in contact with the donor family and and things like that. So we did choose closed, which is a cheaper option, like you said.
Yeah.
We only went through one transfer, so that was cheaper, you know. But it definitely is significantly cheaper than.
Wow. Now, do
Other
they
forms of
have to
adoption.
prep your body?
Yeah, walk us through
Same
the whole
as
process.
IVF?
Yeah,
What does it
a
look
little
like?
bit. Yeah.
Okay.
So the way it worked is, so because I know you've interviewed some of the staff through the National Embryo Donation Center, so that's the team in Knoxville, and so we started our application with them. They truly believe, as we believe, that those embryos are human life, and so though it's not required to call it adoption, they call it adoption and they treat it like adoption. So we had to go through a home study just like any adoptive family had to. And so that was all the pre-paperwork. And then, you know, we had to be background checked and have CPR certification and all those things that a lot of your fostering and adopting families have to walk through.
Okay.
And then, yes, to ensure that they know exactly how my body handles the various hormones and what my body will do through the transfer. They do what's called a trial transfer leading up to it. So they gave me some of the hormones, not to the extent, but estrogen, and I don't think that time they gave me any testosterone, but leading up into what they call the trial transfer. And so then we went to Knoxville and just ran a couple of tests, ran blood work, you know, looked at my uterus and made sure that like my body is capable of carrying.
Yeah.
Is it a safe place to transfer
Yes.
a human since they
Yes.
are humans?
Exactly that, but also just making sure like there's certain measurements that you want to make sure that you put the embryo in the correct spaces, and so just making sure that that my body was ready and that they had what they needed, that when it was actually a human,
Okay.
that we were treating it with dignity.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And then we came home and scheduled an actual transfer date. And
Now,
then
tell me about the matching. Like, how do they find you?
Oh.
The embryos. Like,
Okay.
do they ask you questions, or do you get?
That's a great question. So I believe every clinic does it a little differently. The way that the NEDC does it is there's essentially an embryo like portal, for lack of a better word, that you get access to. And so Matthew and I had spent a lot of time praying over like what characteristics were important to us. And so you can find out a lot about embryos. Like some were created through sperm donors, you know, and personally, this was just a prayerful decision that personally for us that's not something that we wanted. Like we wanted to have a mother and a father that were married. And like I said, we chose a closed adoption, so we didn't see any of the ones that were available through an open adoption. But you could sort through all kinds of filters and read a lot of basic information. So basic health information, basic physical even feature information. But then it was fun, like they had like the parents like favorite food and movie, like the mom and dad's like favorite like movies and things like that. It's like you could see a little bit of their personality.
Yeah.
I will say, just the Lord just showed up in a lot of ways. Like we'll tell anybody He moved us to Maryland, to like literally halfway across the nation to
Find out
us.
about this.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
And another really cool piece of this is we had to do background checks in both Maryland and Mississippi because we had just recently moved through our adoption. And the paperwork got lost in the mail and one thing after another, and it was delayed. And it was the one thing that was delaying us from the actual transfer and from being able to select our embryos. And, you know, at that time we were like, Lord, what are you doing? Like, we trust you. Like, we've seen you move. You've called us to this, but like, what are you doing? Like, why is this the one thing that's delaying us? Well, you know, in the Lord's perfect timing, the day that we got our paperwork from Maryland back, they gave us access to the embryos. We could start looking. And Matthew and I had really prayerfully, like I said, had some criteria in our head of things that we thought were important for us. And there was one family that met that, and they were uploaded the day prior.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was interesting. Like
So
him
God's
and I
like,
had.
Jasmine, it's okay.
I got you.
this.
Yes, literally. And Matthew and I had both said that we weren't going to rush it, that we were going to spend several weeks in prayer over the family that we thought it was before we reserved. And I remember it was like a Friday, and by Saturday night, Matthew said, these are our babies, aren't they? And I said, yeah, they are.
Oh, my
And so
goodness.
literally by like Monday morning, we were like, these are.
So you already knew there were. You're saying these.
Yeah, what
So-
you made a decision about
Yes.
that, right?
So per statistics, the NEDC asks that you have a reserve of 5 embryos,
Okay.
just because they're not going to transfer 5.
Okay.
They will transfer a max of 2, so 1 or 2 depending on the family's choice, because they truly believe that they're not like. As a woman's body is not meant to hold more than that, and want to make smart decisions too for the family to make sure that they can properly raise the babies that they're the embryos that they're implanting.
Yeah.
And so, they.
So you got to pick 1 or 2 to have transferred?
Yes, we
Okay.
did. And so we made that decision, and then I was going somewhere.
Statistically, you want to tell us about what are the statistics of like success when you transfer one? Like
Yes.
how that works.
And so it's a 50-50 shot that an embryo will stick, even with the best. So yeah, that's why they want 5.
Okay.
Because 2, not every embryo will survive. Like I hate to say, and I quote, the thaw.
You mean if they're on the ready to be able to transfer?
Yes, but they will not. And so this family actually had 5.
Okay.
Okay.
And we knew, knowing that there was only a 50-50 chance, that we wanted a family that had 5, so that if maybe only 1,
It could be biological siblings.
Bingo.
I gotcha.
that we could have biological siblings, so we could go back. Like let's say only 1 took. If none took, we knew that we still had
Yeah.
our biological siblings.
And just to clear up for the audience, that like chance of success, that 50-50, that's not something necessarily specific to IVF or the process. It's just that genetically
Right.
embryos can stop developing. And this happens in a regular woman's cycle
Right.
sometimes, and you end up having a chemical pregnancy and just not knowing. You know, either sticks to the uterus and doesn't continue, or it just never sticks to the uterus. So
Right.
that 50%, it's a 50% chance that the embryo will implant successfully in your uterus.
Yes.
Causing pregnancy. So you did too, thinking, maybe we'll get a baby out of this statistically. We hope so.
And we were absolutely okay with twins too. You know,
Right.
like we were set up.
You were hopeful for both.
Absolutely, we were. And that was kind of also the fun part is because you are on so much, like the medication, they really monitor. Like I was having blood drawn pretty regularly. Like they're watching a lot of my hormone levels to also give the babies the best shot at success, because they essentially, before the transfer, have to trick your body into thinking it's pregnant.
Yeah.
Now, it's not nearly as much as regular IVF.
No,
What
not
does
at
that
all.
look like? Like, you're coming to Knoxville how many days before? Like, how long are you there?
We were literally, they asked you to be there the night before the transfer.
Okay.
And then you had to stay the night after the transfer.
Not bad at all.
And that's it.
Okay.
So I think it was like on a Monday. So we came on like Sunday.
Okay.
And then stayed Monday night and then drove back home on
Not
Tuesday.
bad at all.
No.
Okay.
And so there's only a required 2 trips to
Oh, wow.
Knoxville, the trial transfer and then the actual transfer itself.
Okay.
Okay.
Which is awesome. And, all of those lab results are constantly being sent to the team and the doctors there. And so that was really exciting is we were watching it. And I'll remember it was a Saturday morning that we ran my HCG levels, which are levels that like indicate a lot of times whether or not you're pregnant or not. And they were extremely high. So they're supposed to double over 48 hours. So mine started at 200. And we were like, okay, that's high. Like, that's great. And then 48 hours later, they were 600.
Wow.
And so my husband and I were like, the twins are there.
Yeah.
Like our babies are there. And, I just remember like we just both broke down crying. Like, this is our answer, right? Like, the Lord is so gracious. And then we went for our first ultrasound like 2 weeks later. And I remember telling our sonographer, like, hey, this is our story. We've transferred 2. My numbers are running high. We really think there are 2. And as she starts the ultrasound, like I see on the screen the 2 sacs. And I was like, they're the twins. And she literally goes, and there's a third. What?
And you said what?
I think all I could say was praise Jesus. And Matthew literally, just about, he was completely speechless. And
3 babies.
Okay, statistically, how likely was it that that would happen?
we're like in the 1% of the 1%.
Oh.
There's like a 2% chance that an embryo will split. And so we, like the fact that like it's only a 50% chance that one embryo will implant in the uterus. So it's a 25% chance that both.
Wow.
And then the fact that one split and there's only a 2% chance of that. Like, yeah, we are literally in the
Wow.
1% of the 1%.
So all 3, it's biological siblings.
Yes.
Just one.
So we have
2 are twins.
Yes, so we have a set of identical twins and then a third fraternal. So
Oh, my word.
Listen, ladies, we are almost out of time. The music is on, but guess what? We are going to have Jasmine back for a second show because the story does not end with
it's not.
this information. But I do want to end with this because you said that your husband told you he had been praying. And what was it that God told him to pray? To pray
that
Is it
he had been
boldly?
that he this entire time, I had no idea until afterwards that his prayer every single day over me had been that the Lord would be bold.
Wow.
And he was.
And he
All right.
was.
So to be continued. Thank you guys for listening to Hannah's Heart on American Family Radio.